Hello, and welcome back to another Polytech Media video. Yeah, today started weird. Today's weird. I'm trying to stay away from US politics because 1, I'm not American, 2, I don't live in America, and 3, it is everywhere. I'm absolutely saturated in it, absolutely saturated. It's everywhere. It's in the memes that you look at, it's in UK papers, it's front pages of UK papers, there's clickbait articles, there's local newspapers talking about the election as if it's local news. It's not local news, it's world news. Don't care what the local website should be talking about local issues. For example, in the United Kingdom, we're now in a second national lockdown. In England, there is a second national lockdown. We came out of one towards the end of August, beginning of September, and obviously the infection rates to do with COVID, corona, whatever you want to call it, the plague, they've gone back up to almost pre-initial lockdown level, that sort of April, May level. We're seeing large amounts. So the government has finally decided to lock us back down again. It's a month-long lockdown. And each party have given it a different branding. Labour are calling it the Circuit Breaker Lockdown, and Tories are calling it the Second National Lockdown. But essentially, you're not allowed outside unless you have a reasonable excuse. I'll try and drop these reasonable excuses on the screen, but they include things like going to your job if you can't get to your job, seeing someone in your support bubble, dropping your kids off at school, picking up essentials from the supermarket. Strangely enough, one of the things that are not on there, by the way, if you get caught without a reasonable excuse and the police don't think you have a reasonable excuse to be outside, they will fine you on the spot up to £200 on the spot, which can be reduced to £100 if you pay within, I think, 60 days. One of the things that are not a reasonable excuse is protesting. It is now effectively illegal to protest in England. They think that we're using us as some kind of petri dish, ignoring the fact that we have the highest infection rates compared to the South. You know, we have much higher infection rates. That's why we were put down in local lockdowns. Anyway, let's go into a bit of a darker topic. So there is a news article on I24 News. Now, don't quite know exactly who they are. You know, they're not a particularly widely known news outlet, but there's a reason behind that. You can't seem to find this on any of the major news networks. No one's really reporting on this. I think I've seen a video by Memology 101, which originally put me on to the Twitter article that this came about. But we'll read through this article. Anyway, human rights lawyer interviewed on British radio station, which is LBC, which is a talk radio station, said that her boss was the one passing names to the CCP. UN actively passes names of Uighur dissidents to the Chinese regime, whistleblower has said. A human rights lawyer interviewed on British radio station said that her boss was the one passing names to the Chinese Communist Party. A human rights lawyer working for the United Nations in Geneva has accused the body's Human Rights Council of actively passing names of Uighur dissidents to the Chinese Communist Party. Speaking to Majid Nawaz, speaking to him, Emma Riley said that prior to each UN HRC session, the Chinese government would ask the UN whether or not certain people were planning to come. And these certain people are people that are coming to sessions with the UN Human Rights Council, you know, to basically, as activists, to speak to the UN and basically say, look, can we have some help? Can we have you condemn the Uyghur genocide that's essentially happening in large parts of China? And, you know, they're all being... I mean, we should all be aware of what's going on to the Uyghur population. They're being moved to re-education camps, concentration camps. They're being used as slave labour. There's rumourings of them being used as, you know, organ harvesting. There's stuff to do with having the head shaved and the hair sold around the world, you know, for wigs and things like that. Anyway, back to the article. She added, it is completely against the rules to hand over that information to any government. Astonishingly, this has apparently been the case for some time. In a recently released letter, UN Watch, which is an NGO that highlights UN malpractice and bias, revealed that as long ago as February 2016, although the practice has allegedly gone on from 2013. Chinese authorities and others regularly ask the UN Human Rights Office whether particular NGO delegates are attending future sessions. And apparently more alarming still, the Secretariat press release acknowledges that the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the OHCHR, confirms this information. So gives this information to China, gives these names of these activists, of these dissidents, directly to China. And Riley has said that the UN makes an exception for China and only for China. So there's the video here, and I'll link that below. Both Riley and UN Watch asserted that China then uses this information that the UN provides to them to harass human rights activists and their families, often accusing them of terrorism and worse. And you can see Nawaz, the host of LBC, the host of this segment of LBC, was visibly struggling to absorb the enormity of his interviewee, or what was revealed. He's been an outspoken activist about this for some time as well himself, but he obviously wasn't aware of this. The United Nations is handing over the names of the genocided Uighur dissidents to the government of China that is genociding them. It's difficult to wrap your head around that the United Nations Commission of Human Rights, which exist to stop human rights, core fundamental human rights from being violated, are passing them to China, who are then using that information to violate core human rights. A presenter then asks Riley how she knew this, to which she replied, "Because my boss was the person doing it." While Riley's boss has been promoted, she's been frozen out of the UN, where she still works, and it transpires that nobody can take it to court because the United Nations has diplomatic immunity. She does reveal in the video itself that while they are immune from being taken to court, they have diplomatic immunity. The one thing you can do is take them to an internal employee tribunal. So she did that by basically arguing that she's been frozen out, she's been sidelined by the UN. So you can see that she's released some documents here. She says that she has all of the receipts, to quote the Quartering. She has the receipts. There's also another document where they go through the tribunal in a lot more detail, but it's in a lot of legalese, and to be perfectly honest with you, I don't understand it enough to be able to decipher exactly what it's saying, other than she gets denied that she was treated, she was mistreated. Anyway, you can see here that at the bottom you can basically see the concern that the complainant caused to senior management can be seen in the subsequent strongly worded press release by the High Commissioner. In fact, the staff member has had contracts renewed and remains employed by the organisation on full pay, following the leak and publication of a redacted copy of the memorandum. The management was naturally and perhaps primarily interested in good relations with the member state, which is China. The complainant was interested in human rights and protection of human rights activists. So the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights was, by virtue of the whistleblowing, placed in a very awkward diplomatic position by a human rights issue that it struggled to handle well. A whistleblower's reporting of such a practice was contrary to fundamental UN principles and values. So basically they're saying, in exactly what sort of activity must be protected. It is far more important than minor infractions of bureaucratic rules, which the system finds that it's much more easy to clarify as protected. So basically they're saying that you put us in an awkward position by releasing this, and we were more concerned about being in that awkward position and protecting our relationship with China than protecting human rights. And that's from the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights.
Oh my gosh, there he is.
That's mad. That's insane. And it's insane that this isn't more widely seen. Outside of the LBC Leading Britain conversation, outside of obscure websites like i24 News, it's very difficult to actually find this on any leading major media outlet. like I said, I was only put onto this by a Memology 101 video, which I'll link below. It's nowhere else. It's nowhere else. How is a meme channel on YouTube releasing these huge scoops more than, you know, a huge website? And you can see it's the same. It'll be the same exact reason why the UN themselves haven't done anything about it and have given this information to China, because they're more worried about the diplomatic relations with China. They're more worried about that than the core fundamentals of why, as an organisation, that they exist. They're more worried about how it looks than doing their actual job, which is mental. Absolutely mental. And I'm guessing it's the same for these major media outlets. They're not releasing this information. They're not reporting on this story. I mean, she says in the interview that The Guardian, which is a left-leaning UK website, left-leaning UK newspaper and media outlet, someone was writing a story there, but the editor killed it, and they never explained why they killed it. I mean, we can probably guess. Go on the Guardian website, and it's one of those that, you've read 1 out of 7 articles today, please give me money. Again, they're only concerned with the bottom line. They're getting spanked by independent YouTube creators. So they're just worried about money. I just cannot believe that human rights are being violated, and we're seeing other things in the news. We're seeing stuff about Prince Harry not being able to lay a wreath at Remembrance Day. That is more important, apparently, than the genociding of a population that we all know is going on. We all know what's going on. They do trot out a Chinese diplomat every now and again to listen to their creative lies, or when the WHO themselves, they had anything that goes against China. When you go to the WHO and they had a question about Taiwan's membership, and the guy just basically on the Zoom call just went, "Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh no, the Zoom call just turns off." Seems like you cannot disagree with China, because all the major organisations, all the major media outlets refuse to do it. Refuse to do it. And the only reason why I can think about that is it's power and money. But anyway, enough of me ranting for today. If you like that, please consider subscribing. Please like this video and share it. It'll be good to try and get this out there, because like I said, no one's really picking this up. No one's really running with the story. So please do try and share this, just to get the message out there. Or if you do find the Memology video, you find another independent creator who's sending this message, please, it doesn't have to be yours, but please do try and get the message out there yourself. Yep, so thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.